Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. Today, sharing with you in recent time, never seen before text, emails, conversations which have gone on in the background, more so to do with the past, in regards to the likes of possible cause of death of Noah Presgrove, the opinion, responses from Trooper Zachary Wright, a part of the police presence, tied in with the case, and their thoughts, perspective of Justin Roy. This was posted, I believe, on the case discussion page, then taken down supposedly, but reposted elsewhere on the Sofa Sleuth page. So it's already come out public, but only just recently. And today, I'm going to try and make sense of it, but also share it with you, those who may not have access to the Facebook or the different pages. So what could be shown today may be shocking to some people, but I'm still going to try and keep it balanced to put perspective in mind from different sides. This video could help make people learn in different ways, and it could help me too. We're going in raw. I'm going to read it out bit by bit, and even some of the reactions and comments by people and what they had to say. Not everybody is too pleased with this coming out and being revealed, but in a way, it might be what's needed to get a better understanding in general and where things are at right now, or at least how things have transpired since. So welcome to anyone currently here during this live premiere. Share your reactions in the live chat located on the right-hand side of the screen. And at the end of watching this video, and for those watching on catch-up, make sure to drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions on Justin Roy, your opinion on the cause of death of Noah Presgrove, and even Zachary Wright, because some of these conversations are quite eye-opening. It kind of follows that theme in a way with what we last looked at when it came to Trooper Anthony Linares. I think that's how you say their last name, where in the past there was a first-time call made with Caden Pressey and Anthony in regards to reaching out because there was supposedly police wanted to talk with Caden, but the police weren't aware, and it was kind of like set up, but Justin Roy was in the background trying to get both to communicate with one another and reach out in hopes of making progress in the case, getting the right contact with the right person of interest, etc. But it kind of backfired or blew up in terms of how people interpreted it, and as a form of ammunition weaponized against Justin Roy. So then Justin kind of getting questioned and more skepticism rising since, which is unfortunate. But that video was done. It was very interesting, an actual video from Caden's point of view of recording the call with police. It was good of Caden to do what he did, but was it meant to come out public at the time? No, but it still somehow was revealed. You can kind of see how these patterns are going, and it also applies to today. Will it cause damage to the case? Who knows at this point? But in terms of me doing this video, it's not like a first time ever from in the hands of me and my power. No, whatever's happened has already taken place, which, as I said, can have negatives but also positives with learning. I knew it's going to be a certain flow and structure today. As for comments or additional discussions, maybe that can be for later or reserved for a future video. I've not forgotten about Caden Pressey's timeline or the timing of when Georgia left or when she arrived home, when Caden was woken up by the call. We'll get to that later. I've still got the notes down on some paper, but this is more new, this is more interesting, and that's why I'm doing it. For those that are interested though in my previous videos, if you have missed out on anything beforehand, you can catch them up top right corner of the screen where the I symbol is. If you click there, you get the drop down box with the playlist and some loose videos too. Furthermore, if you do want to support this channel, down below, pinned message in the comment section will be some additional links by me, like the PayPal link, which is the most effective, practical and anonymous way to do it, rather than greedy YouTube with their percentage cut, which is absolutely ridiculous. That aside, we need to start this video off, and here we are with the first little screenshot. Anonymous member posted 48 minutes at the time saying, well, funny the case discussion group of Noah Presgrove doesn't want to keep this post in there. Wonder why they're going out of their way to protect active liars in this case. We all know Justin Roy is a compulsive liar and has single-handedly made this case about himself, turned it into a massive joke and war on these kids. Why would someone do this? Mental illness, personal attention he isn't receiving, a coward. I sure would like to know that this is clear. OHP doesn't think it's a murder and has publicly stated such. They clearly can't stand Justin or his thoughts and opinions. Justin Roy needs to be in jail. So in terms of the points about Justin being called like a coward or attention seeker or being responsible for turning the case into a joke, well, in fairness, I will give my thoughts in response later on with what I've seen and to put it into perspective with how other people have behaved. Because yes, you can question, you can attack Justin Roy, but there are other people out there who have clearly been reckless, and I've seen it. And I could give some examples as well later, but let's just focus in on what's important right here. So, Noah Presgrove Case discussion group. I guess it's from Tim Daniel that posted it. People archived it before it was taken down and deleted. Now, when it comes to the case discussion group, I think you've got Michael Facecast over there, Justin Roy and some others, but I don't know who the moderators are. At some point, it was a certain set of individuals. Then I think it switched and changed in between. Maybe you had Shannon Scott at one point. I do remember that I was actually kicked from the page because there was a misunderstanding with accounts or names, which got a bit silly, but people should have known by then because I did make myself very clear at the very beginning. I know some people along the way may suggest or say, post this, post that, comment here, comment there. No, I don't. I don't actively participate on any Facebook page, right? I am more of a research/consumer for that area. If I was to comment and post like I do on YouTube, then maybe there's a chance I wouldn't have access to some of the pages. Let's just put it that way. I'd rather do my stuff and take some kind of action in my own area on my own channel where it can be controlled better and contained. It's for the best. But whilst we've got a handful of little snippets here, we can get a bit of a clearer look. So Tim Daniel at the time doing his post saying, we've all seen the conversation or interrogation of Jack Newton, Wright. He's the party girl best friend to Noah Presgrove. It's been selectively referenced by many, not shown in its full context, and sometimes it's used to paint Jack and Noah's other friends in a certain light, which I'm guessing is a negative one. Recently, I was shown the full conversation, and for some reason this particular screenshot is always conveniently left out. I wonder. So which screenshot is always used then to tell a different story or half of a story? This omitted screenshot is one of the only mentions of what the OHP officer Zachary Wright with Trooper Z, who is investigating this case, thinks happened. So an actual person of authority and police shares what they think happened. That'll be interesting. Many of us have been mocked, ridiculed for suggesting the theory that Noah's death involved him falling out of a truck bed. See, if that's what people believe, if that's what people think, fair enough, there shouldn't be a problem. But equally, if people think that Noah Presgrove was murdered and or that there was foul play, if it's a theory, an idea, that should be understood and respected as well. From the looks of it and what I've seen overall, both sides have been attacked. Maybe I can apply that later on. Let's continue here. Tim says, we were called silly, ridiculous for it. And yet here we are 17 months in and learned that Trooper Zachary Wright was thinking the very same theory way back then. That's the important part, back then. Not just recent, but in the past. And if the past has been hidden by some that push the murder concept, well then we've got a bit of a problem, haven't we? Why would certain people really be passionate and want to push a murder concept and a form of foul play if it's not really true or there's not enough evidence to support it? Why are people so desperate for it to be that outcome in regards to Noah? Is there a long-term grudge in the background where people want others who they don't get on well with to be associated with the death of Noah, so then justice or some kind of revenge in the past, pettiness? It does make me think. See, with the Dylan Rounds case, externally in the community, there was already long-standing drama, distrust and disagreements amongst people here and there who then were brought into the case, discussions and beyond, and it was like a tornado that moved on in. It was not much to do with the case, it was everything to do about other stuff and grudges. So it's worth monitoring it. Tim says, why was this left out? Why is it? Why did I have to figure this out on my own? This piece of information is crucial, yet it seems to have been deliberately omitted. It appears that even OHP didn't think Noah's friends were knowingly involved in his death. They told Jack as much and Jack passed that on. Has anyone else seen this part of the conversation? I haven't. I'm more certain than ever that Noah's friends were not knowingly involved in his death and that a vehicle was involved, but not as a hit and run. See, this is the thing. Justin Roy, with time, from what I last remember hearing, Justin suggested that, okay, no hit and run, it can't be hit and run, but a vehicle involved is on the table for talks and discussion. And Tim Daniel here, that a vehicle being involved, but not a hit and run. See, there is common ground, but it seems to be lost within all the other stuff going on. But if we move on to here, and I will try and zoom in if it's easier for some people, get through it bit by bit. I might have to flick on and off depending if the screen messes up. This is like text conversation DM with Jack Newton and whoever. Jack is on the left. You can see the profile picture of him with Carter Combs. On the right in the blue box, could that be Justin Roy or somebody else? Who knows? If there's any context that needs to be filled in and you want to respond back to the relevant timestamp of my video where I miss out a detail or I ask a question, feel free to leave a comment down below with the attached timestamp of the video so then people can always reference back and learn that way. No exact date given here or year, but it says 2:24 p.m. Jack, first of all, saying, because most of the news feeds are giving out way too much false information. In regards to news feeds, what exactly? Official ones? Facebook pages? Would it be News Nation? Fox News? Depending on who reports on it at the time. What about the People article? See, there's been a few of these news groups, like official professional ones. Is Jack referring to them for giving out false information? Some of the news programmes or articles did interview Jack. See, I remember when the People article did their coverage on Noah's family, and then they were supposed to be doing it on maybe the party host Avery, but the article was all about Jack being interviewed. I don't know what the point of that was. The reporting was a little bit dodgy there. Could a news feed be considered partisan true crime? Is Jack referring to them? I wonder. In response, this individual says, do you trust what Zachary Wright is telling you? Jack responds, so apparently Zach never said that about the suing, but yes, I trust Zach 100%. What's this to do about suing? Who is suing who? Does this involve Justin? Does this involve BBC? Any conflicts in the background? I know we had the likes of Travis Davidson basically saying, I'm going to sue you all. I'm going to sue you, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to sue the cow next door and the camel in the desert. All over the place, absolute mess there. But Jack says, and have since it first happened. In response, and does Zach think that the Texas boys too, involved? And Jack says, well, Zach told me he doesn't know He just thinks that Noah jumped out of the truck. Oh, and that's what caused the death. It sounds, at the end of the day, what Jack is saying here is from what Zach, the police guy, said. So it's like just passing on a message, a thought, and that is it, right? Key words. He said he doesn't know, he just thinks. So Zach doesn't know with confidence, it's just an opinion, an idea, and that is all, at the time at least. That's important to acknowledge. Just like how other people may think this or that. See, I'm just wondering, is this particular post and screenshot influential, in which BBC in the past went from thinking it was a certain type of death to Noah being in the back of a truck, the bed of it, and maybe rolling out or falling out? And then the same with some other people along the way because they saw this screenshot in the background. Is that what influenced people? See, at the time, back then, when you had Jack Newton that made the reference to possible causes of death with Noah, either it was a semi-truck and the mirror clipped Noah's head and that's what caused him to die, which didn't seem believable due to all the other injuries sustained. But within that same sentence, Jack also said, well, if it's not that, it could be the Texas boys and Noah was in the vehicle and maybe he was pushed out or fell out. So if that's what Jack was saying at some point back then, was it also influenced by what Zach said in the first place? With Zach giving his opinion, Jack acknowledged it and then believed that was a possibility. And then ever since, whenever this conversation, which may have been cut out, ignored all the other times in the past, has been found, passed on, and then people who are classified as part of the dark side have this perspective now. See, Justin Roy, I don't know if you're watching or not, but like how you may have mentioned here and there, oh, what's the next theory or claim going to be? Oh, Noah Presgrove was hit by a vehicle then. Now, oh, he's in the back of a vehicle and just accidentally rolls out. And then what afterwards? Oh, Noah Presgrove supposedly raped someone or assaulted someone or something. What's next? You remember when you said that, Justin? Is there a possibility that people changed from hit and run to being in the back of a vehicle falling out, all because of this particular screenshot conversation? Have people been influenced along the way? Not as a means of brainwashing, but as a new perspective and idea. And at the end of the day, if this is what Tim is referring to specifically, that's been left out, which hasn't been shown publicly, but other parts of the conversation has, what were the other parts of the conversation that were released publicly and pushed so much? How does it differ to this on screen? That's what I would like to know. But it is interesting. Of course, it is second-hand, third-party information being passed on. It's not straight from the horse's mouth, at least from this particular screenshot. But what it goes to show is the possible theme that when it comes to Jack Newton saying this and that, whilst he could be questioned, he could be attacked at times, if he's simply being a messenger at times, passing on a message, a theory, a concept, updates by police, and if those updates switch and change drastically, or there's some inaccuracies along the way, but that's because of the police side or other authorities in the background, Jack takes the flak at times. That's how you could interpret it. See, when it came to the 4 a.m. time of death, when Jack mentioned that, and hold on, let me just say something, and correct me if I'm wrong. This can be a question towards Brooke, or it can be towards Tim, or Joyce, or Robbie in the background. Is this particular conversation on screen between Jack and Justin? And if it is this within the same conversation at some point where it's mentioned that Jack mentions about the time of death when responding to Justin? Or are these two separate things? If it's all a part of the same comment thread, DM thread, then I could understand half of it being shown public, the other half not being shown. Because just hearing about the time of death makes it sound more mystical and suspicious. How would you know the time of death? But maybe a bit before that, Jack mentioned, well, he told me this, he told me that. Just like how it says, well, he said he doesn't No, he just thinks that Noah jumped out of the truck, just like what? He thinks that the time of death could have been 4 a.m. And with Jack saying that, part of the comment being cut out, so it's only worded or seen by the public when it's posted as, Jack says, well, time of death, 4 a.m. But what was mentioned above that in the conversation? Oh, Zach told me this. Is that a possibility? Even if it's not, that can be an example of how the full story can be there, but those in possession of it may not want it all out there because it may not suit their specific agenda, so they may cut and crop bits out. Is that from the light side who are responsible? It could be. Could it be from the dark side other times? Who knows? Anyone is capable of doing it, but do they really want to? And if they did, then likely they're doing it because it would benefit themselves or some other people, either protecting or pushing a possible outcome. And by pushing a possible outcome, there's got to be a motive behind that. As in what? You want it to be a certain way so people get in trouble, even if they're innocent. Why would you want that? Because you don't like those people. You've had trouble in the past. Any mess within this case and community, and like how Brooke has said, it's a complete mess, the community and the way people are all crazy people. Well, if that's supposedly the case, was it like this before Noah's case? Whoever, whatever, knew whoever to some extent degree. Was it messy then, before Noah's death? Was there any similarities or crossovers in between? Was there any long-standing grudges, agendas, pettiness in the past? So when there is a case and people all dragged all in like a black hole, then it intensifies. I'd like to know. So this is very interesting, and this is just one screenshot, but it can tell many possibilities and stories. Moving on, we don't really need to zoom in here because it's pretty clear. At 9:17 a.m, is there an actual date? Well, roughly an example, it says sent Wednesday, May 8th, 2024, 9:13:59 a.m. So take in mind that something like this is in the past. It's still in 2024, but it's in the past, when at a time, maybe Justin Roy was more passionate, more pushing, and trying to get answers. The reason why I throw that out there is to provide perspective, and you can do it yourself measuring. You know, there might have been some previous or recent questioning and by others attacks towards Justin to paint him in a bad way, or maybe in a way where Justin did it to himself accidentally in the past. He did himself no favours. But if he has changed since or toned it down a little, these examples here don't exactly mirror Justin in his current form right now, possibly because it's old stuff. But regardless, it tells a story along the way and it fills in the grey areas which you've never seen before. It provides the perspective and attitude of certain authority towards those tied in within the case or the community. Just like how we saw to an extent with Caden Pressey recording that call via video recording with Trooper Anthony for the very first time, and Trooper's like, oh yeah, that Justin Roy guy, you know, he called me like 10 minutes beforehand, and he's done it in the past on and on and on, and he's got like 2 jigsaw puzzle pieces and expects to complete a 5-piece jigsaw puzzle, and one of the pieces of information is incorrect anyway. It doesn't look good on the odd person here or there, does it? So, what you see on screen, and you may have read it out already, I'll read it now. So, Zachary Wright responds to Justin Roy. Justin, I am aware of the laws. I've asked you to let us do our jobs. The constant texting, emailing me, telling me what I should be doing is becoming aggravating. Please let us do what we do. Thanks. Then below, respectfully, Trooper Zachary Wright, Troop Z Investigator Traffic Homicide Unit. And down below, I guess, is the original response by Justin. If someone is injured or killed because of social hosting laws and inquiring about that. At the end of the day, does it paint Justin in a really negative light? This here? To a very small extent, if you was to accumulate it with all the other points or screenshots, then maybe it fills more of a picture and not in a good way. But really, this just goes to show that Justin Roy being passionate, pushing, wanting truth, maybe justice, wanting progression, seeks that Zachary Wright is the man for the plan, but not quite hitting the spots in the right areas, and Justin is trying to direct and guide Zach in the right areas. But we've got to understand that Justin was not a party goer, just a passionate individual that cares about Noah and the case. But because of that passion, it might reach the boundary line of stepping over, and then other people put the foot down and say, whoa, going a bit too far here. And for Zachary Wright to say, you need to, cool down, it's getting aggravating. This basically, and it's not me being negative, it's just what we see here. This mention here kind of ties in line with what I think Robin Smith mentioned on the Justice Facebook page previously. I don't know if I'll be able to find that today, but maybe later on in the video, if I do come across it, I'll try and add it in. And if not, maybe for the future. But just as a heads up, to reiterate roughly, coming up to that 1 year anniversary of Noah Presgrove's death for the first time, there's a lot of tension between the Family Justice page and the Army page, and certain individuals in between with the GoFundMe, the questions about that. Was it Tiffany Shepherd, Robin Smith, Ashley Chadwick, Victor Presgrove, Justin Roy, back and forth, if you remember. And I believe it was Robin Smith. Correct me if I'm wrong. If Robin's watching, you can also leave a comment down below for extra context if you want. The mention of Justin Roy being passionate but pushing it a bit too far. Family have told him to take a step back of Noah Presgrove. Police have told him to take a step back, cool off. Not to stop, but just to slow it down a bit. But he refused to do so. And that's what caused the issues. I remember that. Justin Roy since did mention here or there that he acknowledges how pushy and forceful he was. He just cares. He's tried toning it down with time and taking breaks in between. Would people agree with that? You can let me know your thoughts in the chat. But at the end of the day, Zachary Wright isn't attacking Justin, just simply saying, could you please, slow down a little bit? We're here to do the job. And I get that. Police assigned to this case, that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. Outsiders that aren't assigned to the case, that step on in and order people what to do and what not. Yes, it could come across as a bit problematic, and it could even slow down the progression. But is the reasoning behind Justin's actions is because there's just not enough progression in the first place, or it's a bit too slow. So one is taking matters into their own hands in hopes of being able to be the momentum pusher, a catalyst in moving things on. But from the looks of it, not been the case. And with this being May 8th, 2024, how long had it been going on for, the constant texting and emailing then? Of course, Justin Roy can leave his comments and responses. Don't take this don't take this out of context of the people who may think, it's one-sided. Justin Roy can comment, Justin Roy can respond in the live chat or the comment section, see it from all perspectives, and if updates are needed in the future, that can be done. The next one here, this is an iMessage text conversation between, from the looks of it, Trooper Zachary Wright and Justin Roy or some other person. Now the language here is a little bit more informal, or at least in my opinion it is. Zach, who I guess is on the left, says, "You trying to scare him a little with the medical examiner report? Who told you it's coming tomorrow, lol?" Now, if I be honest with you, if people aren't on first name terms or friends or close, and it's more on a professional scale or a formal form of interaction, and if Zach is part of the police force, why would Zach be saying lol at the end of the sentence? Unless that's just the way people are over there. I just thought, it's no laughing matter. This is a serious situation. If you're talking or type into maybe Justin Roy, if that's the perspective here, I don't know completely. Why would you be saying lol to someone who you're not really friends with? If you're off or on duty, maybe you act a certain way around certain people. Just like how there's been criticism towards those police people that were interviewing Caden Pressey June 2024, and people have felt that, you know, it was unprofessional the way they were pushing Caden for certain answers, putting stuff into his mouth, not his own words, and even getting a little bit aggressive, forceful when it came to Caden mentioning about the highway footage and the removal of shorts. And they were like, oh, what? Are you kidding me? Are you sure? And much more. Yeah, you see patterns with it over time. So who is trying to scare who with the medical examiner report, the autopsy? What is this? The aim of a person uses the autopsy report to force somebody in submission to confessing the actual cause of death, or forcing an agenda onto someone, gaslighting them into acknowledging a possible cause of death such as murder? I wonder. Response-wise, just made it up, bro. Now, who uses that language? What type of person would use that term if you had to try and guess or identify who's behind this conversation? I just made it up, bro, to see what he said. He said, oh, is this to do with Jack Newton again? He's definitely not being truthful, especially saying everyone usually goes to bed when he goes to bed. Right, this sounds like a person talking about Jack Newton. Justin Roy, maybe? Kind of arrogant in my opinion. This story doesn't support the evidence in my opinion. Me just seeing Noah, I knew he was beat up. What did you think when you saw him? He totally didn't answer about his head being smashed in the back. Right, this does sound like Justin Roy. See, I don't see profile pictures or little names near to one another, so it's hard to tell. Besides Zach, of course, because that's at the top. Not sure about being beaten up, but from my experience, I don't think he was hit by a vehicle. Even though it was Jack Newton at some point that believed that there was a chance that was the case, hit by a semi-truck mirror. And in response, what did autopsy say, bro? Now, why would anyone be calling a police guy bro? It just sounds very informal. It sounds like you're like close friends with this individual, so you can talk very casual. I said it might be different over there. In response, Zach says, it's still pending and probably will be pending until I can figure something out more concrete. Now, at the end of the day, if this is to do with the autopsy, what we've seen since, was it concrete? Well, some of it remain a mystery. Time of death, cause of death. Unless the full autopsy, hidden autopsy details and other bits and bobs have still been like hidden, classified. But for Zachary to say, I'm not sure about being beaten up, but I don't think he was hit by a vehicle. Still not a great level of absolute confidence, but collectively, from what we've seen over time, the news reports, news articles and whatnot, that the police themselves, or OHP, ruled out a hit and run, but only that specific cause of death, meaning a vehicular-based death could still occur in other ways. It's just interesting, though, how, and I'm just being honest for that full perspective, at the time when early on, hit and run was ruled out by police, whilst the police weren't pushing murder and not suggesting it, I wonder why certain people, maybe like Jack or more so Stevie Howard, were really pushing the hit and run theory, claiming that's what caused Noah's death. If Stevie Howard and some other people listened to what LE said at the time, and LE said it's not hit and run, why would Stevie Howard continue believing it was and pushing it, and then pushing it back against others that thought it was something different? That's what I don't get. If you trust the police in the process and you listen to them, then why go against them when they say something else? That's what I don't understand. Of course, ever since, by some people, like BBC and some other individuals, maybe Tim, that feel that the possibility of Noah being in the back of bed of a pickup truck and then falling out or rolling out, that's changed in between. But why would it change in recent time? All because of this particular conversation, what we're looking at today, maybe to an extent. I'll just zoom out here and we'll move on to the next one. This is supposedly part of the same conversation, but It says iMessage Tuesday. Is that Tuesday? 5:20 p.m. What I don't get here is why is, the point of view of the person that I guess screenshotted it all, not Zach himself, but the other person, which could be Justin. Why is one box green, another box is blue? I thought it was all of the same colour. I didn't think it would change colour, up there. Not that I'm aware of. Anyway, Zach says, well, first of all, let's just acknowledge this one up there. Maybe Justin or someone says, do you think murder or accident? Either way, there was a cover-up that happened in both scenarios. Now, Justin Roy has said here or there that even if it wasn't murder, for the body to be moved to the highway is a form of foul play. If at the end of the day it was simply an accident, why would partygoers and people cover an accident up, incriminate themselves even further, and get their hands dirty when they're actually making themselves worse off down the line? What's the point in doing that? It just doesn't quite make sense. So there's that. If it was a murder and you're trying to cover it up or redirect it elsewhere, even if it didn't happen in this case, it would make more sense to move the body. A means of trying to cause misdirection to protect yourself. But still, accidental-based death, moving a body, manipulating it, can still be a means of protecting yourself. If anyone was to panic and feel, oh no, look what's happened. We didn't mean for this to happen, but we're kind of screwed now. Oh, we've got a survival instinct, protect ourselves, keep each other close, don't say anything, or change the story, the possible outcome and narrative. Different ways of looking at it. But, I said, those that feel it could be murder or there could just be a cover-up in general, they should not be attacked for thinking that if it's just a theory. Just like how people that think maybe Noah fell out of a truck shouldn't be attacked either. I'll go into a bit more detail later if needed. But yeah, you're really doing nothing but making this harder. So the way this sounds like is Zach responding to Justin up here. So it all seems to be to do with Justin. You're really doing nothing but making this harder. If there was a cover-up between those kids, partygoers, they're doing a good job. There's no cover-up by law enforcement or anyone being paid off. Now, in fairness, for Zach to say that would make sense, whether it's true or not, because you're going to protect yourself and the presence, the credibility of yourself and the force. You're not going to be saying, yeah, troop, hands up, we are dodgy. Of course, they're not going to be saying that. So, and that applies to Box Elder County Sheriff's Office in the past with the Dylan Rounds case. It was incompetence. They were slow, wasted opportunities with evidence. But of course, they didn't own up. But when they did some year in review newsletter or article in a paper, they basically praised themselves of how good and great they were and what they managed to do. That pissed off some family members from Dylan Rounds' family, of course. Would that apply here? Well, not to the public level from what I see in the past. But anyway, frankly, you saying I'm friends with people down there and I'm being paid off is disrespectful. You say we need new eyes on the case all over social media, but what you don't know is several agencies and eyes are working around the clock on this case. I have several other ones that require my attention as well. If you don't know something, maybe it's best to just not say anything at all instead of spread misinformation. So basically, this is supposedly in response to Justin Roy. Zachary Wright, a part of the police, is saying to Justin, stop spreading misinformation. That's very unfortunate, that, of course. But whilst this video seems to be very focused on Justin Roy in a negative light, there will be, or more so, other people out there that have done worse. And it's even more glaringly obvious. And we'll have to get to that. But it's just unfortunate to see this, but, it's got to be presented. Does anything need to be broken up or analysed here? If there was a cover-up, those kids are doing a good job. I mean, could that be interpreted as suspicious? No, just that, the police with their experience and what they can do or know of, if it is possible murder, they've done well in covering it up and hiding things and causing misdirection. But to be honest, would you say the kids, if you're basing it off a possible murder outcome, as a good job done, or more of a sloppy job with the claims of evidence of tampering with the black shorts at the highway, shoes being on or off at times, and other things in between? I wonder. And certain items of Noah supposedly being missing from what certain family members have said, unless there's a breakdown in communication there. But yeah, the key thing here, frankly, where it says, you saying I'm friends with the partygoers or family of family, the people down there, and that I'm being paid off, is disrespectful. It's probably not the wisest of things to say directly to a police person or at some point, because you could get yourself in trouble there, unless you use the correct, appropriate wording and language, the possibilities, not directing it as, this is what you've done, this is what you're responsible for. I get that, I understand. A little bit reckless language, which can lead to consequences down the line. But to be fair, we've heard it over and over again where people, in general, and more so from the light side, have suggested, but other people have strongly, boldly worded it as a fact without hard evidence by saying that certain members of law enforcement, maybe Zachary Wright, in on it, supposedly, with certain family members, connected with the Newtons, connected with the Howards and anyone else in between, all kinds of cover-ups and looking out for one another, off-duty behaviour and dodginess and whatnot. You know, there's been a lot of that being shoved all over the place. So the theme of it coming up here and Zach actually making an official response back about it, yeah, it's not hard to believe because of how it's gone about online, social media. To be honest, the bit about needing new eyes on the case or social media, and Zach says, well, there's other agencies and people and eyes working around the clock. That can be true to an extent because in no particular order, when you had Trooper Anthony Linares contacting Caden or Caden contacting Anthony for the very first time, that was acknowledged that Anthony and some of us were watching, observing the Facebook post and pages online and even acknowledging what Caden had done at one point by making an official statement to set the record straight in a way. So with that being in mind, it just further reinforces that along the way, there are the right people out there, or at least authority, that's monitoring on the surface level, very quiet like a mouse, but would you expect them to be all public and brass about it? No. Obviously, each case can differ from one to one. See, with the Idaho 4 case, there was some statements, conferences or letters online posted by police urging those within communities and case discussions online to tone it down a bit because it was actually overlapping with the case or impacting the investigation, and how certain TikTokers were also getting in trouble as well for blaming certain people responsible for the cause of death, the death of the students, the partygoers, the four of them, even I think linking it to someone from the university that worked there. So it got very messy and it led to consequences. Can the same happen here? Maybe. If you got the situation with Zachary Wright and Justin Roy, and in between you've got the likes of Jack Newton and the mention of the supposed suing, does it all link together? I wonder. It's worth acknowledging. See, at the end of the day, despite these claims and Zachary supposedly under attack, still says, have a good day, despite it all. Now, moving on here, wherever this is from, maybe a part of the case discussion group, possibly, does say author and admin. That's one thing to acknowledge. This could well be more so from the justice page, maybe. As for when, well, it says 2 days ago, but it doesn't give the month, the date or year. Robin Smith responds to Luana saying, I know this was pushed very hard by certain people, but I honestly don't believe for a second that Zachary Wright is corrupt and being paid off. Now, if this is an old post, that's what Robin Smith may have thought at the time. Does she still think the same now? Or has opinions changed? That's what's also important. because not every social media post or screenshot has the correct date or month or year attached, or it might not have anything attached. So it's hard to gauge when these came about, these conversations. If it's in the past, things could have changed since, people's behaviour, outlooks and perspectives. And if it has done, and there needs to be additional context, well, that can be done so in the comment section. Now, I could understand Robin Smith thinking the way they do, because you'd like to have trust and hope in the police and not think bad of them. As for Justin Roy, though, being sceptical of Zachary Wright, Vanessa Salazar at one point was very sceptical and cautious of Zachary Wright. I think I remember Vanessa Salazar did a repost to do with Zachary Wright, either a part of a film or a part of a security team on set, and a selfie or photo was taken of him wherever, and some people that liked the post may have been Stevie Howard or Brooke Bounce Carter, or certain individuals that are friends or family of those party goers, and people were trying to add a link in saying, they're all linked in, they all know one another, they all get on well, dodgy, corrupt, conflict of interest. So there'll be certain injections of venom which has enhanced the skepticism over time and may have convinced others to believe that Zachary Wright is supposedly corrupt. I'm trying to use the best wording as I can in these moments, because it can be a little bit tense at times and you never know who could be watching. But I'm just trying to get an idea. Like, if you got Zachary Wright, or just the LE in general, OHP, if they're being paid off, well, it wouldn't quite make sense, because I refer back to, the situation with if and only if party goers were involved and there was foul play, to stage a hit and run, because it's actually a murder. And if the police or Zach were being paid off or in on it protecting party goers, you wouldn't think they would be ruling out the hit and run. You'd think they'd be pushing it just as much as the party goers in protecting them. But that didn't happen. The police said it's not a hit and run. And if those on the inside, party goers, were pushing a hit and run or trying to stage a hit and run, they're not in sync with one another. So the police can't be paid off if the police are ruling it out, when dodgy people on the inside are wanting it to be a hit and run, and may have tried paying off police to get them to think the same way, but they didn't. There's a disconnect. They're not in sync. Even when it was ruled out hit and run by police themselves or OHP, Stevie Howard was still convinced it was a hit and run. So they're not in line with one another. It doesn't support that concept of being corrupt there. This is the thing, and not everyone will agree with it. I've said with time, what's my stance, what's my opinion on the police or those tied within this case? Is there corruption, or more so incompetence? And that could still come across as a bad thing, to be honest. But I base it back from the Dylan Rounds case with Box Elder County Sheriff's Office, BESO or something, and the way that police in Utah handled the case. And they allowed Brenner to move stuff about and tamper with evidence, so casual about it. Didn't bother searching here or there, missed out on DNA, didn't bother using the dogs, didn't bother using the drones, dragged it out, delayed stuff, didn't have the right people at the right place or the right time, didn't allow other third-party people, Texas EquiSearch, to step on in, only happened much later on. So things could have been solved much quicker, progressed much quicker, but the police did not act. They weren't proactive enough, so there was a level of incompetence there. Would the same be applied in this particular case? Like, those that want to push it that, the police didn't do enough. They should have checked the house, should have done luminal, they should have checked for blood on site of the property. There was no active search warrant at the time, but the police should have made to get one somehow. Well, I don't know if we'll do it as a poll in general or just in the chat. As a poll option could be, do you think that if police had a search warrant on the house, would the case end up any different than where it is right now, or would we be in the same shit as we are? Leave your thoughts below. What's this one? I think this is where it comes to the comments and responses by people who saw the post by Tim Daniel and thinking, oh, why are you posting it? So I'll try and zoom in a little. Already you can see at the top there are 8 reactions emoji-wise and some people angry with that emoticon. Justin Roy says, why are you sharing this public? This was not shared public until now. Why? Why should it not be public? Why should it be private? Is it because it paints someone in a bad way? Is it because it pushes the possibility that it wasn't murder? Is it because it shouldn't be public because it may harm the case? I wonder what exactly. Tim Daniel responds, because only a portion of this conversation was shared, and I found it extremely important, don't you? So Tim Daniel, I did question earlier in this video, it is a pre-recording, so I'll figure it out eventually, but what portion of the conversation was publicly shared? Was it the conversation of Jack mentioning the time of death from what he was told by Zach, maybe, but that was cut out? Just, let me know if you want. Justin Roy responds, where was this shared at? And how did you get it to share it? And no, I don't think it's important, but I can't tell you why either. Well, I would argue and say it's very important because it also gives a possible backstory which should answer or could answer Justin Roy's questions of why did Brooke change her mindset? Why did other people change in between from hit and run or a different type of death to falling out of a vehicle? How does it go from one to another, one extreme to another? Oh, maybe because of some details and findings along the way in the background, possibly. It might not solve the case, but it might at least explain human behavior and the changes in mindset, the outcomes, possibly, right? Moving on. Tim Daniel responds, why was this left out? Why did you call my theory silly and ridiculous? Why, after so many months, you have not thought to include this most important piece of information? I'll be out here defending Jack and Noah's other friends. The other screenshots we have seen paint Jack in a bad light. Yeah, maybe. Moving on. Zoom in a little bit. Justin Roy responds, because that was way before the autopsy report came out. Let's just say there's a different viewpoint now. Now, where did you get that screenshot? Okay, if that really is the case, opinions and perspectives may have changed since. Would that apply to Zachary Wright as well? Is what Justin getting at here is that what Zach said back then to pass on to Jack, what Zach believes now is very different and not to do with being pushed out or falling out of a vehicle. Right, could be more so murder. I wonder. Denise Rogers-Arnold responds, I also find it very important too, and I appreciate that because everything or most everything has been taken out of context, and that kind of puts the proof into the pudding. Jessica adds on, looks like these words are coming from Jack Newton, not from Zach. Why is he telling Kim details but not Noah's family? When they were speaking on here, they said LE is not in direct contact with them. They have to contact a go-between for everything, but OHP is telling Jack Newton all the ideas and details. This does not seem... Okay, bit of a fair point here, I guess, in a way. I mean, whether there'd be a breakdown in communication or not, it's at times it seems like Noah Presgrove's family could be left in the dark to an extent, but then Jack Newton at points in times has a lot to say, even though he may have been asleep, but all these bits of information and add-ons passed on to him directly, why should he get kind of like special treatment in communication when the victim's family seem to be more in the dark? Or at least that's how it comes across. Was there anything else added on here? They say Ellie is not in direct contact, but OHP is telling Jack Newton all the ideas. Anything else we've seen? He thinks Tim Daniel says, thanks for adding the context of the time frame. This has made the rounds a few times over, and it seems I'm the last to see this, not the first. I have no idea where it came from originally, but but has been shared with me 3 times this week. I figure it was important enough to share. So it is recent. And then this is from, I guess this is from the Sofa Sleuth page, the conversations over there. You got Linda Biffle or Bifle Newton, a Newton-related family member. Interesting. What role are they, in the family tree? This Newton family member says, "Thank you. I appreciate those who try to spread the truth in something of all the lies." Brooke Bounce Carter says, "I can't imagine what y'all have gone through. I pray for y'all often. I pray this is solved and the truth to come to light every day so these kids can move on and heal from this. I also pray the ones that have done such wrong things get charged." Linda says, "Thank you. It's been rough, made even harder with all the lies and those who like to stir up trouble. I appreciate you so much." Andrea Jubrov, Team Jack all day, every day. Oh, okay. Interesting. So you've got Team Caden Pressey versus Team Jack Newton. So I guess Team Caden Pressey is the light side, Team Jack Newton is the dark side. Oh no, we've got new terms to add in now, I guess. And then you get people in between. Let's see it from both. Andrea, they never post the full conversations, only snippets that align with their narratives. They say we only post half conversations, well prove it, post the full context, yet they never do. Brooke, right, we all know why Justin had to cry to Michael Facecast to have that screenshot removed, would hate for the truth to come out. Kerry Gray, Brooke, maybe if a family member of Noah's contacted Zachary Wright and asked if they provide a formal statement to media, they do so. Has a statement been made? Yeah, there was some official statements or so. That could go a long way as well. Besides these little private text conversations in the background at points in time. Andrea, there's no reason Tim Daniels' post should have been deleted, but we obviously know why it was. Interesting that it turns out people knew falling out of a vehicle was one of the options since the beginning. Carrie, wow, imagine that. Why do certain others continue to perpetrate lies? Honestly, in my opinion, these groups do no good and just provide space for lies. Time to shut them down. Certain ones. And what's here? I think it'd be helpful for Zachary to provide a statement to media saying what he says in these messages. Not saying anything in a formal setting allows for ridiculous, painful, ongoing speculation which only hurts. Did I miss a formal statement? A formal statement would go a long way as well. Robbie Taylor. Oh, yeah. Robbie Taylor, all-star contributor. What's this all-star? Sounds like the NBA. Why did Michael Facecast remove this post from the discussion page? Why was Justin Roy so adamant that Tim Daniel removes the screenshot? Why is Justin pushing so hard on law enforcement corruption angle? Is it because they've made it clear they've done with his interference? He keeps pushing his murder theory, even though law enforcement doesn't believe it. He seems more unhinged and desperate now that the truth is coming out and people will see him for the liar and manipulator he's been this whole time. It's just sick. People sometimes double down on their beliefs when faced with opposition, especially when their credibility is on the line. What is fueling his need to control the narrative? If the truth is emerging and contradicting his claims, he might feel backed into a corner, and people can be dangerous when that happens. He's already relentlessly pursued Jack, Avery and Carter, trying to paint them as guilty of murder. How far is he willing to go to keep his lies alive? And that's it of the screenshots there. Hopefully you found all that interesting. Now, I just want to add on my additional thoughts in regards to Justin Roy, because I said I was going to do that in the first place. And that is, when it comes to Justin Roy, he hasn't caused me any problems or issues. Granted, though, in more so recent time when things are a little bit more tense, there could be more questioning as in, have you seen this? Have you seen what's going on? This is unacceptable. Maybe action needs to be taken. And I'm like, well, I do what I can, but there needs to be a form of freedom of speech, just like how you have the right, Justin, to defend yourself and respond back. You shouldn't have to, I guess, but neither should other people either in different situations. But all kinds of messy stuff going on. But that form of common ground being found but not acknowledged. That Justin Roy, who believed possible murder, possible beating, possible golf clubs, possible foul play being moved on. But then there was a period where I saw Justin Roy mention about Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was a vehicle-based death, but not a hit and run, but still foul play. It just so happens that ever since, people from the dark side have transitioned on to not a hit and run, but a vehicle-based death. And yet people are still going at one another and disagreeing, and some are insulting. Common ground. A collective group of people think it's a vehicle-based death. Some think foul play and others don't. Either way, upon that common ground of a vehicle-based death, that's a positive, right? But people can't acknowledge it because they're still intertwined with pre-existing issues. On top of that common ground could be the agreement of whoever, whatever is responsible, there still needs to be a follow-up on that person or people. Because, you know, someone has to be behind the wheel in order for it to kill someone, unless the exception being that if there was a parked car or a vehicle and an individual was pushed into the vehicle or slammed on it or smashed the head onto the bonnet, the boot or the door was slammed on the person's head, then that's still by the hands of someone, but not the driver, as in the driver's seat. Now, in fairness, I've not been in a hit and run. I've not been, you know, anything like that. But I do remember a time where a friend, when much younger, a friend had a tantrum just because I was able to sit in the passenger seat of their vehicle when leaving their house. And just once again, because of humans in life and the way they are with me, I remember that time when I was getting into that vehicle, and what did that friend do? They slammed the door right on my neck. That's a very good idea. Well, unfortunately for them, I'm still fucking here, you absolute prick. Fat bastard as well, if I should add on. A petty individual pathetic excuse of a human over time, in all petty at moments. Absolutely embarrassment, okay? This is what I mean. I do not forget, okay? So when that fucking door was slammed on my neck, you try fucking doing that again now with a 17-inch neck, I think the door will break itself, okay? And, you know, I look dodgy at the moment just because of this, and the context behind that is basically, at the end of the day, the rest went, that was supposed to go, but somehow I got distracted and I forgot to do it yesterday. So now I have transitioned into WarLike Wrath. Ole, okay? You want me to do the accent as well? Probably not a good idea. No, not a good idea, because I start sounding Asian instead. Juan, you fat fuck, get the tacos. Oh, we got Butika, Rumo. Long time no see. Yeah, need some work there. But that aside, it just reminds me of how deaths can occur by vehicles which are stationary and no one behind the wheel, externally. But still, a person likely will be responsible somehow, some way, accidental or not. There needs to be a follow-up there, doesn't there? So that can be another form of finding common ground in the case when people are opposing one another and there's disagreements along the way. Now, when it comes to Justin Roy acknowledging the other possibilities along the way, the mindset has changed, just like how maybe we Brooke Bounce Carter as the possible outcomes and other people in between. So it's about acknowledging that there will be change with time, whether you see it the same way altogether at the start or maybe later on in the future. It can reach a certain point, but in between, there's just a lot of mess and conflict. As for Justin Roy being labelled a possible attention seeker, I wouldn't say that personally. And these are just my thoughts, okay? I wouldn't say Justin is doing it as a means of getting attention, because what one would put themselves through on top of the supposed attacks and harassment and family members in the background, is it worth going through all of that? What do you actually gain at the end of it? You end up being more worse off than anything you could gain from it. So I don't think the motive behind any of, you know, what people would say questionable by Justin is done for attention. I don't think Justin is doing it for that, right? The obvious would be Justin is doing what he's doing for justice for Noah and because he cares. But his methods may not be seen in the same light by other people There could be misunderstandings along the way. I'm trying to keep it somewhat balanced. As I said, Justin may push and push, sometimes too hard, and people may take it the wrong way or think it's just a bit too over the top, like what we've supposedly seen with what Zach had to say, part of the police, what Trooper Anthony Linares had to say as well. Two different police guys, not being really negative, but mentioning certain issues with Justin, which is unfortunate, but just simply relaying what's been said. And to be honest, even Caden Pressey agreed with what was said, at least at the time when it came to Trooper Anthony about calling and every now and then it being too much. So you could say, to balance it out, what Justin does to some people, others may consider negative, as in too full on, let the right people doing their job do their job. You take a step back. And the other perspective from other people is Justin is the only one that actually cares. Justin is the only one that's actually trying to push, whilst other people do the opposite. They're the kind of like common arguments that are going about with time. In terms of cowardly behaviour, I'll just say there'll be other people out there that may have pure fake accounts or disappearing accounts and, not provide full context. See, to put it into perspective, putting Justin aside, because it doesn't have to be all about him, because there is a heavy focus at this moment in time. What I don't understand is, why isn't the covenant of people over time being acknowledged? No, but it is. But it's not really. See, when I say the word coven or covenant, people are going to jump and think, oh, what George Choden said and some others. Oh, wait, Wrath thinking alike. Oh, same person, same account. And then it will spark people losing their minds and the odd obsessed individual that's obsessing over my body. See, this is the thing. And this is just to cut through the darkness, but it is a fact. Whilst I do my own stuff on my channel and it's not always true crime related, here and there I do other things, but people still latch onto it in a negative way, obsess about me, harass me, and other stuff in the background. And I don't mean it in a positive way either. Oh, have you seen this guy, WarLike Wrath, uncaged animal, looks like a gorilla, what the hell's going on? This is the same individual? I'm like, God, he's a madman, he's locking up. I don't know what's going on there, but likely there will be some obsessed individuals watching right now, lurking in the background, waiting and begging for WarLike Wrath to stand up tall as a statue so those mighty hard nipples penetrate through the top and pierce directly into your eyes, burning your soul and igniting your passion within. You need to get a grip of yourself and cleanse your mind, because at the end of the day, when I do stand up, they won't always show. And that might be a sign to say that WarLike Wrath is warm at the moment because the temperature is okay. Or maybe WarLike Wrath isn't turned on by your petty ass behavior. That is a complete turn off. Okay? Isn't that right, Beauty Guru Moo? Yeah, exactly. So, sorry to disappoint people. There's just not much there, right? Oh, tighten the top. No. We're here about the case, not about my body. Even though some people make it about my body, my neck, and much more. But that's the way people act. I'm giving you an observation, what's gone on in between. But when I talk about a covenant, when I talk about a group, I mean previously in the past, with what I've seen, what I've witnessed, the bandwagons, the hype train of the case is coming towards an end. By the end of this week, it'll be solved. Big news coming. JJ Bumpaz involved. Murder footage. Groups of him kicking Noah, biting and whatnot. And all of that and all the details shared. Dina Rose and the other people that believed in Dina Rose so easily. That's unfortunate. More people seem to be attacking or questioning Justin Roy, when then you've got Dina Rose at one point that was even worse and did a lot of hype train movement without hard evidence. Oh yeah, I've seen this, I've seen that, here's the details, but by the way, I don't have the evidence, or by the way, I'm not going to show the evidence, or it's not going to be shown public. Well, what good does that do? See, the only exception you could say was the tampering with The tampering at the scene, the shorts, that was first mentioned, to my knowledge, by Michael Faye's Kaz, who's just a person, a part of the community. Whether you believed in it or not at the time, that's what was being said. Okay, some details given too. And then fast forward onwards, when we heard about that leaked interview with Caden Pressey, details within that just so happened to show that Caden acknowledged it and saw it himself. Even if Alicia didn't, or in another interview, or in that CCTV footage at the home of the Pressey household, it wasn't the same video, it was something else. Well, still, Caden Pressey saw something else which links to Michael Faye's case, so there's a bit of consistency there. But when it comes to Dina Rose and what she had said in the capital letters, shouty tone, shouty voice, it did not help. And pushing it, really going all in, all the time. What good did it do? Oh, the case will be solved by the end of the week. Well, many months later, never happened. Oh, there's footage out there and it might be released or it will do something. Well, looks like it didn't. A lot of disappointment. And the final icing on the top was when Dina Rose was then pinning JJ Bumpers to having footage on his phone, or kids in a parking lot finding out somehow, then going to their moms to tell them about it. And JJ wasn't even in the city or the state at the time. He was elsewhere. And then the covent of people that were attacking, dragging JJ through the mud in the first place, end up siding with him at the end because Dina has stepped over the line. Oh, that's a big turnaround all of a sudden. You can see how people change up real quick. That's why it can be a bit of a problem at times. But when Dina Rose was acting the way she was, and Michael Faye's Kaz said, you need to calm down, Dina, or, there might be some repercussions. Was Dina Rose kicked from the case discussion page? I don't know. But at the time, she wasn't. But at the time, I was. Now, that was through a misunderstanding, but there was clear clarity of who I am, what I was doing, and why I don't interact. But someone who does interact, someone who is a shouty tone voice, someone who is a hype train, and for whatever reason they did what they did, it didn't go down too well. But they still had immunity to some extent. So at the time, I did question that, and I don't forget, just like many other details. So it's worth highlighting that, as in there are other people out there that will poorly use language. Maybe it's done intentionally. Maybe people get too hyped up. Maybe some other people are very overly emotionally invested, and emotional wording used to push things which aren't exactly true or true at all. But there might be some truth within it, but not completely, but they'll still word it as a fact, and it's just not good enough. Got to be a bit more controlled, and not everybody can do that. Dylan Round's case saw it there. Here, I've seen it as well with time. The way people spell certain names, from Fallon, F-A-L-L-O-N, to others who have spelt it the proper way, F-A-L-Y-N. But it sounds like two different people, doesn't it? Just confusion like that. When people use abbreviation initials, what good does that do? That's confusing as hell. Well, how can it be? Well, you got JM, you got JM, you got JM either. Fuck's JM, Jasmine Milan, Jody, Josie, hooray, whatever. We're not going back to the Mexican band or anything like that, even though I look like one. And take in mind, there was actually a time in the past where people in real life said to me that I look like some kind of Mexican drug dealer. That's not me, that's what other people had said in the past, okay? So just a bit more context there. But that aside, just poor language all around, and at times I've not seen improvement from some. It just goes on and on and on. At the end of the day, does this type of video damage Justin Roy? This video in particular isn't, the aim of it isn't to damage Justin Roy, just to simply look at what's currently present to understand it, and more so the explanation or the reasoning of what Zach thinks the possible cause of death for Noah. See, yes, from a bit of an expert, an opinion, what they think, not what they know. And if it's back then in March or whenever it was, what's transpired since? Has Zach's mindset changed? If these are old screenshots, conversations and whatnot, things may have changed since. There's always worth to acknowledge that. And this is the problem. Maybe some people may hide screenshots or hide the context of it, and then it might get out eventually down the line and then released, but some people may interpret it as brand new post. Others will interpret it as old archived stuff that has finally been revealed. Still important, but it's back then, relevant to then. Things may have changed since. Behavior, outlook may have changed since. If only it was revealed in the moment, at the time, onwards, it would have eliminated a lot more problems and made things more healthy. That's just my opinion, okay? Sometimes, what I want to mention, like the video that I did yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, to do with Avery Combs, an old comment message, Facebook, on one of Caleb's posts, which was then later deleted. Who knows why it was deleted. And there was like an overlay of duplicate comments, one and then the other. Was it edited? It could well have been edited, as in the original comment you couldn't quite see, so there was an overlap of the other, so then you could make it out clearer. But what a great consensus of individuals were saying last night in chat would be like Brooke or Tim or Joyce or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and anyone else in between, right? We're thinking, yeah, that's been like a fake, or it's been photoshopped, it's been edited. I mean, visually, when looking at it, it looks a little bit dodgy. It's a little bit blurry. But then again, it's from the point of view of someone that had an archive of it from the original, or a original edit, if you want to put it that way. As for who's behind it and who would do it, who knows? Could it have been a fake account that actually was created with the name and profile picture, and then that comment was actually posted, so it was real, but not from the right person? It was an impersonation account. That, you never know. And is any manipulation like that, pushing it a certain way, it means obviously some have an agenda with Avery or Carter or Jack or Caleb and pushing it to fit their narrative. But any place, anywhere, any time, from either the light or dark side, why would anyone have a certain agenda and narrative they want to push in an unnatural way in hopes that it will become a fact, a fake fact? Why does anyone want that in this Noah Presgrove case? If everybody cares about the case, why do some want to push a certain narrative? How does it benefit them? There's got to be some reasoning behind it. There's got to be a motive, big or little. There's got to be an explanation behind it, because if not, it's just a complete waste of time and it just doesn't do much good for really anyone. In the Dylan Rounds case, you had people pushing certain narratives and wording, and it wasn't exactly true. And then other people were very gullible, and the majority of the humans, population, vulnerable, easily led, believed in it, indoctrinated. Chinese whispers, worded slightly different with time. Maybe here and there it could have been worded as a concept theory, and then reckless people turn it into a fact, wrapped it up into something it wasn't, right? It's like, well, actually, no, I can't think of an example because it'll be a very weak one, but it's just unnecessary behavior. But still, at the end of it, there'll be like a root of the problem, causation behind it, a catalyst in between to enhance it, or a turning point which changes the direction. You look at each element and who's behind each element, same person or different people with time. One who enhances it, blurts it out and spreads it. It's like with the Dina Rose situation. Were they the creator of the problem? Were they the spreader? Were they the catalyst? Were they the mouthpiece, or more so megaphone behind pushing certain outlooks? And with JJ, and then a coven in agreement, in alignment, or easily led, vulnerable people that just nodded their heads, went along with it, and it kept being pushed and pushed and pushed, and it just didn't do much good. So with Justin Roy, Justin is on the front line, at least from what I've seen. Could be vocal, could be pushy, but he shows his face, says what he's got to say, whether people think it's right or wrong or true or a false narrative. He's putting himself out there, but at least to my knowledge, not behind a fake account. That's got to count for something, even if you don't like Justin Roy. If someone puts themselves out there on the front line and they show themselves and the name and whatnot, which could lead to backlash as well on them and people that they know of, at least there's not that much fakery. Because in other areas and groups, there would have been people that may have done things in a sneaky offhand way by creating a fake account, a temporary account elsewhere on different chats. So like reference to that supposed fake manipulated comment of Avery Combs recently saying about, oh yeah, and the Newtons, father and son, sleep with the Combs girls. I interpreted it as it was a sarcastic point by Avery, and others interpreted it as it's just fake, created by someone. Now, I said, is that someone behind it also responsible for this Snapchat screenshots where they acted as Noah's friend but did not show their name, their real name, at least to our perspective, and Colton Newton was communicating with that unknown friend of Noah, and it revealed stuff. Did it reveal the truth? Who knows? But the actual aim of going about it was in a sneaky offhanded way, which can cause trust issues, could backfire down the line, could even push Colton Newton away from reaching out to people in the future. If someone was more upfront or showed their face a bit better and was a bit more honest, not as many bridges burning down, just like how here and there people reach out and say, here's an idea, a video, or here's a screenshot, maybe take a look at it. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm going to create some completely fake account or me myself and then do it that way. No. But other people have in this community and case, and I just don't think that helps. Why are my hands getting so cold? Anyway, I think we'll leave it there for now. Who knows what will happen next? Who knows if there was any trouble today? Or maybe it was all relaxed and calm and all fine. But, you know, there might be some additional posts elsewhere and obsessions as well, attacks towards me. If it's that bad, well, I can do an update or defend myself if needed. But this might be a video what people wanted or needed considering what's been going on in recent time. Once again, it just solidifies that WarLike Wrath under control and some, for some people, never seen before material, providing a different light and perspective of the case in general. In my opinion, am I easily swayed or convinced that, oh, Noah must have been in a back of a vehicle truck, rolled out, fell out, pushed out? Do I think that's the case, just based off what Zach says? No. Because at the end of the day, what Zach says then, does it differ now? Who knows? And furthermore, it was his opinion at the time. Expert opinion or not, if it's just a thought or an idea, it can still be up for discussion and counterpoints. If it was said with absolute confidence and certainty, then you'd be looking at it deeper, I guess. But we'll see what happens next. My name is WarLike Wrath. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night for now.